Hello, everyone. Welcome to Brainwork So Your Dog Isn't a Jerk. I did this presentation at a conference a few months ago. It was the Working Dog magazine conference I spoke at. And I thought, why shouldn't I get this information to you guys too? So just because you couldn't make it there doesn't mean you can't have this information. So here is the presentation that I gave at the Working Dog conference. It is called Brainwork So Your Dog Isn't a Jerk. Okay, so Brainwork So Your Dog Isn't a Jerk. And this is my beloved jerk dog, Rudy, who I love him to death, but he is extremely high maintenance, especially for a dog, or maybe because he was a dog that spent most of his life in the shelter. And I think he's just making up for last time now. So what does your dog like to do on their day off? Now, I designed this presentation for working dogs, military, police, law enforcement, etc. But every dog has a day off, whether they have a professional job like law enforcement or they're just freeloaders like my dog. Again, see the Rudy video or the Rudy picture, just freeloaders, but they need to know what to do with themselves, whether it's a professional dog or a slacker like my dogs. When they get bored, they get in trouble. And what does that look like? What does boredom look like? Boredom looks like destruction, where they're ripping stuff apart, or it could simply be stress. What is stress? Barking at the neighbors, pacing back and forth, reacting to every little noise can be of anxiety or stress. And then you have OCD behaviors that dogs can do, lick granulomas, excessive licking, scratching. That can be almost an OCD where they're self-stimulating. They're trying to self-soothe, basically. So again, whether you've got a working dog or a freeloader like my dogs, whether they're professional law enforcement or they're professional couch sitters like mine, they need something to do. They need that brain work. And it's not just about the physical exercise, it's the mental exercise. That is what's going to wear them out the most. And quite honestly, that's what they need the most of. Because these are smart dogs. They're not just going to sit around and watch the paint dry, most of them. So again, whether you've got a working dog or a freeloader, it's all the same. I love that shirt. I still live with my parents. I think that's hilarious. So brain works so your dog isn't a jerk. So what I want to do today is I want to give you some fun, actionable, and easy things to do to keep your dog busy, out of trouble, and out of your hair. And let's be honest, if it's not easy and it's not fun and it's not simple, I don't want to do it either. So, I could give you the best information in the world, but unless you're going to actually be able to put it into practice, it's useless. So what do they say? The best exercise is the one that you're going to do, right? So that's why I tried to put together some fun things that you want to do with your dog. I mean, that's why you got a dog in the first place. Nobody gets a dog to clean up more poop. At least I hope not, anyway. So who am I? Most of you guys know me. My name is Cindy Scott. I've been a professional certified dog trainer for over 30 years. I think I started out in the Jurassic period. I'm veterinarian recommended. I work very closely with vets. I think that's important. I'm also AKC certified evaluator, animal behavior college mentor. I'm a Kong ambassador, as well as a Working Dog magazine ambassador. And these are my two assistants, Rudy and his high maintenance stepbrother there, Reggie. No, Rudy's high maintenance. Reggie's the other one. Reggie's so sweet. Reggie's so easygoing. I mean, isn't that like kids? I mean, there's always an easygoing one, and then there's always a high maintenance one. I'm not going to tell you which one I am. You can probably figure it out. So why do dogs need enrichment? What does a bored dog look like? Okay, let's start there. What are the symptoms that you're looking for? If you're like, Sid, how do I know if my dog is bored? Well, this is what a bored dog looks like. Destruction, where they just rip apart everything. They're not ripping apart things because they're being vindictive or they're trying to get even with you. They're just bored. They're just looking for something to do. And let's be honest, ripping apart stuff is fun. If you didn't have to clean it up, it'd be fun too for you. Counter surfing. Yes, dogs are naturally scavengers. They are hardwired to scavenge for their food. And this is a fun way to do it. When they get bored, they're going to be looking for something that they can nosh on. I mean, same thing. When I get bored, I want to munch on things too. So this is part of the scavenging and the reward of actually finding something that tastes good. You never know what you're going to find on those countertops. Nuisance barking. Barking can also very much be boredom. That's bad grammar, but it's the truth. So, yes, there's 100 different reasons why dogs bark. One is to alarm, sound the alarm, literally sound the alarm that, hey, there's an intruder or somebody that you should be watching out for. That's their job. It turns into nuisance barking when they won't shut up or when they're barking at every little thing that goes by. I don't need to know when there's a grasshopper walking on the sidewalk across the street, right? So, nuisance barking can be boredom simply because they're looking for something to do. They're looking for that stimulation. So, if you have a dog that sits by the window and stares out the window for a good part of their day, that's like their TV. They're looking for something good. They're bored. And then they're going to cheer along with whatever game is going on outside your window, I guess. But a big red flag is if your dog just sits at the window and watches out the window. Yes, they need to do a little bit of that because that is their job, is to be aware of what's going on. But when it's too much. Or if you say shush or quiet and they don't stop, they keep going. Digging, again, dogs are hardwired to dig depending on the breed that you have. Some are more have a tendency to dig than others, especially if you have a terrier. I mean, it's right there in the name, terra as in earth. Or oftentimes if you have a water dog like labs and your sprinklers go off, then when the sprinklers stop, they're like, hey, I want some more water, and they're digging for that water, and in the process they'll probably dig up your sprinklers and your pipes and everything else. But a lot of it is boredom as well. If they're not bored, they're not going to be looking for the sprinklers to go turning back on. If they're not bored, they're not going to be digging for, who knows what in your backyard, snails, roots, maybe some cat poop if they're lucky. You never know what treasures they may find. But if you have a digging issue, the disease is boredom. Digging is just a symptom. All of these other things are just symptoms of the underlying cause, which is boredom. And let's not forget trash digging. Um, Again, they're scavengers. They're looking for a free meal, literally. And when they get bored, they're going to be like, hey, I'm kind of hungry. Let's go see what's in the trash. See what we can find. See what treasures we can find. So digging, whether it's in your garden or in your trash, again, boredom, underlying cause. Escape behaviors, definitely boredom. They don't like where they are, so they're going to find someplace else that's better, someplace else more stimulating. I do like this husky in the middle, the look on his face. He's like, hey. But yeah, escape behaviors. Why does your dog jump the fence? They're trying to get to something better. Why do they dig under the fence? Because they're bored where they are. They want to be someplace else. So let's talk for a few minutes about your dog's wild instinct. Okay, dogs really are just wolves on the couch. I so many reasons that we domesticated them, but I believe firmly that they domesticated us. They were like, hey, free meal over here. If we just turn on the sad eyes, they'll feed us. This is fantastic. So it's a pretty good gig for them. And dogs were the first domesticated animal. They have been with us from the beginning of our evolution. And it's really interesting evolutionarily, scientifically, biologically, and spiritually how we really have evolved together. They know us better than even other humans sometimes, and I think that's why we're just drawn to them, most of us. I love this meme. You know, we were once wild, and then we noticed you had sofas. And I, knowing all the dogs that I've known, they're so smart that I'm sure they were like, "Hey, here's a free meal for sure. If we just turn on the charm a little bit, they will feed us, they will care for us, and as we should." So, some things about wild canis I want you to keep in mind because, again, your dog, I don't care how cute and fluffy they are, they still retain those wild instincts. And no, a wolf isn't close, a wolf. A husky or a Malamute is not closer genetically to a wolf than a Maltese. So your little Maltese, your little Yorkie, your little foo-foo dog, just as much a hunter, just as much a scavenger as your Labrador, your Husky, etc. Uh, Dogs, we have selectively bred them to look and to act certain ways. So dogs are not a naturally occurring species. We humans, we selectively bred different organisms to get them to look a different way and to act a different way. So that's why you have Great Danes, Newfoundlands, and yeah, little Chihuahuas and Malteses, the same breed. They have different genetic markers, which differentiates their breed, but the canine DNA is the same. It's biology, it's science. So, keeping that in mind, your dog hardwired to scavenge for food, like I mentioned before. They are hardwired to spend most of their day looking for food. It's a survival instinct. So that's why, and we'll talk later about some ways that we can use this to our advantage, but just feeding them out of a bowl takes 10 seconds and they're bored the rest of the time. Hence the trash digging, the garden digging, everything else, the counter surfing, looking for food. And then chewing for additional nutrition. So vitamins, minerals, etc., are found in bones in the wild. Now, there's a difference between wild bones and bones that we buy, and that's a topic for a whole nother day. We can do a deep dive into that. But you want to be careful about the things that you do give your dog to chew. I know antlers and some of the natural sterilized beef bones are really big on YouTube, people promoting them. But again, working for vets all these years and seeing as many dogs' teeth and mouths as I have seen over the years, a lot of those toys are too hard and it will chip and crack their teeth. I've seen a lot of dogs with cracked and chipped teeth from bones, uh, antlers, the natural sterilized bones, hard things. So, and we'll talk later about what is an appropriate chew toy, but you just want to be careful. About anything that says that it's a non-destructive toy or impossible for dogs to destroy, because if it was impossible for them to destroy, it would have to be so hard that again it would crack their teeth. And the bones from a live fresh kill are different than the bones that have been sitting in a package for 6 months to a year. Vocalization, that's also something that is very hardwired into your dog. Howling, barking. Of course, they do this for communication reasons. So we can't or shouldn't just unilaterally punish barking, because there's reasons why they bark, and it's a big part of their communication, it's a big part of their behavior. And if we just punish them for doing the nuisance barking, but we haven't got rid of the boredom issue, then they're going to start being destructive. If we punish them for being destructive, we put them in, a cement run with a shock collar on, so they can't do anything but sit there. If they bark, they get shocked. There's nothing for them to chew on. I've seen dogs that will actually chew the bars till they bleed and they have worn down their teeth. But if there's absolutely nothing for them to do, then they'll start pacing, they'll start doing some OCD behaviors, lick granulomas, they'll self doing self mutilation just for that stimulation. You want to think about like a lion, a tiger in the zoo. And before we started doing enrichment with zoos, and yes, I'm old enough to remember when zoos were horrible, horrible places. Some of them still are. But before we started doing enrichment with the animals in zoos, a lot of them would literally go crazy. They would starve themselves to death. A lot of horrible behavior issues. And to a certain extent, your dog can have those same OCD things. So that's why we don't even go down the slippery slope punishment. And we want to use their natural instincts to our favor and to their favor. My whole shtick is about being Zen. Let's not work against nature. Let's work with it. And that's, not just for dog training. It's for everything. Why work hard when you can work smart? So please keep in mind that your dog does retain these natural instincts. They just are going to manifest differently. So what they scavenge for isn't going to be, roadkill and all of that. It's going to be your countertops. It's going to be your trash. What they want to chew on is not bones, but your couch or your cushions or your shoes, those types of things. And of course, the vocalization, instead of howling and barking to communicate with one another, which they do sometimes, but it's a different sort of vocalization, a different sort of communication, because they still do that, but they're also going to bark incessantly at the mailman. They're going to bark at everybody walking by your street or when you're out on a walk. So the instincts are the same, they just manifest differently. Okay, so, and then just keep this in mind, left on their own, dogs will find an outlet for that energy. Typically, it's not what we would prefer, but much like a toddler, you're going to hear me reference this or compare these two the same. A puppy and a toddler, very similar. You can't just put a toddler in a room by themselves and expect them to, sit down quietly and read a book or color. Oh, they'll color all over your walls, or, they will, what toddlers do. Same thing with dogs and puppies. They don't know what they're supposed to do. Just because they have a room full of toys doesn't mean they know how to play with them or that they want to play with them. Same thing with toddlers. You could give them, 20 different things and maybe they don't want to play with any of those different things, right? I did one of the research theses I did when I was in college studying psychology. One of the classes I had, I think it was child development, I don't know, one of those classes, but I was experimenting with toddlers where I took a room full of toddlers. And this is something that science taught me too, and behavior is sometimes the outcome is what you totally weren't expecting, but it is the biggest lesson that you will learn. It's very serendipitous. I was doing this research. So I had friends of mine that had toddlers come over and we did it at my house. And I wasn't even thinking, of course, my dog was there. She was everywhere. She was always there with me. So my dog was there and I had all these different toys. I had about, I think it was like 4 different toddlers that were there. Of course, all my friends got married before me and had kids before me. It was great because I got all the hand-me-downs and everything. but there were several toddlers and all these different toys. And I was really doing the research on gender biases. You know, are boys naturally into cars, girls naturally into dolls? What is that crossover? So I had all these different types of toys, put the toddlers in the room, and yeah, what was the one thing that they all wanted to play with? They could care less about any of the toys. They wanted to play with the dog. All they wanted was my poor little dog. And it was really an eye opener for me. So what is my point? Serendipitous, that it's not always what we think it is. What we think the kids are into, they're not always into. What we think the dogs or the puppies are into, they're not always into. So it's up to us to show them and teach them how to play with different things and to give them options. Okay, so this is my friend Yuki, and I love this Halloween costume. Those of you that know Yuki know how appropriate this is. And if you look really close, you can see those little snaggletooth in now too. But if your dog, sometimes this is what you think of, is your dog is Chucky or from another horror movie, then your dog is probably bored, and that's what we need to work on. So let's use those natural instincts to best provide enrichment and stimulation the way that we want it to, some brain work for your dog. So I get asked this question all the time. How much exercise slash enrichment does my dog need? And the answer, honestly, is it really depends on your dog. There's a lot of factors that come into play. And first and foremost is your breed. So we're going to talk about breeds here because this is really important. Again, like I mentioned before, dogs are not a naturally occurring species. We created them to look and have all the different variations that they have and to act differently and to have different behavior predispositions. So depending on what your dog was bred for, that's going to give you a lot of clues into their behavior. So we're going to talk about some different types of dogs. These are my classifications, not AKC or UKC, any of those. AKC is American Kennel Club. I know sometimes I throw out jargon and people are like, wait a minute, what is that? So if I do that, just stop me. But AKC is American Kennel Club. And the UKC is the United Kingdom Kennel Club. So these are my classifications. The first is hunting. There's a lot of hunting dogs. You've got your sight hounds, you've got your scent hounds, you've got your flushing, like your spaniels that were bred to flush out the fowl from the brush. And when they fly up, then the hunters shoot them. The scent hounds, we know what those are, that they track where they have been. And it's fascinating. If you're interested in this stuff, because I could talk about this all day long. If you're interested in this, I could do videos and go in depth on each one of these breeds, each one of these categories, because to me, it's just fascinating how we have bred them and what they're capable of. Like basset hounds, the fact that they could smell a drop of blood in an area like a swimming pool, like an Olympic-sized swimming pool, they can smell that. It's crazy to me. And then how we have bred them to have that. So, like the basset hounds, why their ears are like that, because it helps the big floppy ears, it helps funnel in the scent. And the beagle, the tail, how it looks like a flag, and the foxhound as well, the tail goes up like that. So the hunters can actually see them. Yeah, it's supposed to be like a flag so they can see them at distances and stuff. It's fascinating. And how their olfactory senses, I mean, dogs in particular, olfactory senses are huge, but the scent hounds are even larger. And what they can smell, it's crazy, absolutely crazy. So you have to respect that, you know. And if they can smell a drop of blood in an Olympic-sized swimming pool, you don't think they can smell that cookie in your pocket? Come on, give me a break, right? And then, of course, your sight hounds and how they're built. We have to keep that in mind. as we live and we work with them, because those legs, it's like racing thoroughbred legs. They're a little fragile, but man, they can go. I mean, they were bred for speed. It's just absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. So, hunting dogs. Herding dogs, you all know what herding dogs are, tons of herding dogs. But there's different types of herding. There's those that were bred to herd cattle, so they're a little bit nippier, like your corgis. That's why they're so low, is to nip at the heels and to bite at the heels to move them where they need to go, or to move, the cattle where they need to go. The Aussies, Australian Shepherds, which are actually an American breed, but we named them Australian. America. Again, they use their body, and same thing with border collies. They use their bodies and barking. They're very vocal, as well as some nipping going on, but their bodies, that's why the herding dogs, your border collies and your Aussies, they will like lean into you, and they are a little bit more vocal. Oh, they'll sass right back. They'll tell you your opinion. And the cattle dogs, the blue heelers, amazing dogs, what they're capable of. I mean, if you have one, you have to watch some videos of them in action, actually working, because they are so tenacious. They will jump, when the cattle are in the pens, they will jump from cattle to cattle. I mean, just fearless dogs. So if you have one and you're living with them, dear God, you better give them a job, or they're gonna find it. Let me tell you. Um, when my kids were little and they're little toddlers, we had an Aussie mix, and I taught him to herd the kids. So his name was Woody, and I would send him out, and he would herd the kids back into the house. It's so funny. And retrievers, you guys know about retrievers. Of course, your labs and your goldens. Poodles, standard poodles, actually a retrieving dog. They were bred to retrieve the duck out of the water and bring it back. And can I just say about retrievers, what's so fascinating about them is the instinct, and how we have kind of, and this is how dogs work for us, is how we've actually kind of skirted their natural instincts, because the natural instinct is to chase, capture, and kill, right? So what we have done, pray. So what we have done is we have got the chase and the capture, but we eliminated the kill. So these retrievers, they will chase and they will capture, and they will bring it back to us. That's just crazy to me, So you have to respect that for sure. And then you've got, your water retrievers. These are retrievers that were bred to retrieve out of water, all three of them. So of course, they're probably going to have a tendency to like water, which is another way that we can help alleviate some of the boredom. Let's let them use what their natural instincts are, right? And so other water dogs, you've got your retrieval dogs, but yeah, you've got your rescue dogs as well, your Newfoundlands. Amazing, amazing dogs. The only problem with Newfoundlands is they just don't live as long as they should. That's a problem with big dogs, man. Their heart just gives out because their heart is so full. And then you've got ship dogs that we bred. Your Portuguese water spaniel, amazing dog, was actually bred to jump in the water and carry messages from ship to ship, and then they would raise them back in buckets and raise them back into the ship. It's crazy. It's just crazy what they've done. Skipper Keys was a ship's dog, the ship captains, and that's why they're kind of a small, rugged little dog to have on ships. It's just, again, I have so much respect and admiration for what dogs have done. And no more so than protection dogs that are protectors and literally put their lives on line to protect us. What mastiffs? There's different variations of mastiffs, but it's a very old breed. The Romans actually used them, took them into war. It's crazy. We've used far too many dogs in wars for different reasons, and it breaks my heart to even think about it. I mean, dogs literally follow us into hell. And they still are. The Malinois military uses them for so many different things. In the First World War, they had comfort dogs that standard poodles. They used Airedales. They used Airedales to bring messages from trench to trench. Standard poodles, Airedales, and smaller terriers, they would actually put packs on them like saddlebags, and they would put medicine in there and cigarettes, and they were to comfort wounded and dying soldiers. And I think they also gave them a little comfort, you know? That's why they call them comfort dogs, was that they're not alone, and that if they were going to die, that they would have companionship. So literally follow us into hell, dogs. Rottweilers, another wonderful example. Doberman Pinschers are fascinating to me because they were actually, Mr. Doberman was a tax collector. And so he bred the Dobermans, he bred down Rottweilers to look a little bit, to be a little bit more agile, but also to look a little bit more fierce if that's possible. That's why they crop Dobie's ears, is to make them look a little bit more intimidating. And so he would take the Dobies with him to collect taxes, because you can imagine the flack that he got. And then, of course, terriers. I mean, I don't even know how many different types of terriers there are, the breeds. They're probably one of the most common. But the one thing, sidebar about terriers, they are not lap dogs. Okay, they are not bred to sit on laps and look adorable. That's just a bonus. These are tenacious, hardy little dogs that were bred to burrow, to go over tough terrain, and to ferret out vermin and kill it. Again, chase, capture, kill, right? So you've got a lot of different breeds out there. That's why a lot of them have shorter legs, and very sturdy, hardy little dogs. Yorkshire Terriers, everybody thinks, oh, they're so adorable. They're a little lap dog. And then they're like, why doesn't she just want to sit on my lap all day? Because she's a terrier. She was bred to hunt and to chase and to be super active. Not so much anymore, but about a decade or so ago, Jack Russell Terriers were super popular. Great little dogs, super cute, super great dogs, but everybody thinks that they're an apartment dog because of the size. But they are not an apartment dog. If you want an apartment dog, yeah, look at your Great Dane or your Newfoundland. Okay, the bigger they are, the less active they are typically. Jack Russells are not going to sit on the couch. These are quite tenacious little dogs. They're like the sports car. I mean, terriers, you can do anything with them. That's why they use them so much in TV and movies, because they're very smart. They're very flexible and capable of doing a lot of different things. But yeah, terriers, not lap dogs. If you remember anything else from today, terriers are not lap dogs. And then you've got miscellaneous dogs that don't really fall into any other category. Your Dalmatians, your Frenchies, they all have wonderful histories. And again, I could spend an hour talking about each breed. But know what your dog was bred for. Like the Dalmatians, carriage dogs. We don't have a lot of need for dogs to run alongside carriages anymore, but Dalmatians still have that kind of energy. So we have to figure out a way to strategize how to get that energy out positively, because they got it. It's not just going to go away because they're a beautiful dog and you saw a movie with them. So know your breed or your suspected breeds. This is the other thing. Sometimes we don't know. Yes, we have the DNA now, so you can do the DNA testing and you can get an idea. So whatever you think or is in your dog, find out. It gives us a lot of insight into how much exercise they need, what type of exercise is best suited for them. And I think it's just fascinating history. Again, our histories are so interwoven. I could talk for hours about the different breeds and what dogs have done with us throughout history. So if that interests you, let me know. So, timbre. This is a musical phrase, vocabulary, whatever term. That's what I'm looking for. It's a musical term. And what this basically, and this is the definition I put down for you, but basically it means that the sound of one instrument playing a note sounds different than another instrument playing the exact same note. And when I heard this, I was like, wow, that is amazing. And full disclosure, my son's a musician. This is where I heard this from. He mentioned it, and I'm like, what does that mean? And we have our whole family loves music. Our music is our jam, man. Literally our jam. We love music, but I just know what I like. I don't know what the different terms are, right? And so my son, being a musician, said this, and I was like, explain that to me like I'm 5. And he did. And I was like, wow. And so it's really how they can be playing the same thing, but they sound so different. And of course, everything that I learn, I always think about dogs. I mean, how does this apply to dogs? So, we'll get back to the magic equation. But how one breed does it, 2 breeds can be doing the exact same thing, but it manifests different. So how your Jack Russell sits and how your Labrador sits, different. How, one walks on leash is different than how another walks on leash. And I don't want them to be the same. Like every dog has to walk on leash like this. No, I want them to do it what's best for them. And so it makes the best music for them, if you will. So when you look at breeds and when we do classes, or if you do another class or you see another trainer or something, keep in mind they're not all the same. A Frenchie is not going to do a rollover the same way that a miniature poodle is going to do a rollover. And that's fine. In fact, I love the diversity. I love the difference. I don't want them to all be the same. And no other class does this like agility, and we'll talk more about this. But agility, I mean, you guys that have done agility class, you see how great it is the different breeds doing their own thing. So, so keep that in mind. Okay, let's get to the magic equation, which is 5 minutes of mental is worth 20 minutes of physical. So this is really what it boils down to. Doesn't have to be a lot. I call this micro training or micro exercising. Little bits here and there add up to the whole. And you're more likely to do little bits than to do one big chunk. I know I would. Okay. Plus, if you're just running them around the backyard, they're building up stamina. So then it's going to take longer and longer to wear them out. Right? It's like training for a marathon. Plus, they're learning to ignore you. If they're just left running around the backyard doing what they want, they're going to do what they want. That's what they're going to dig. That's where they're going to chew on things. That's where they're going to bark at the neighbors. There's a whole lot of stimulus out there to get them going. Plus, I want them to pay attention to me. I don't want them to learn to ignore me or whoever else is in the family, right? So 5 minutes here and there throughout the day is much more effective than just running around like a banshee in the backyard. Brain work. Keep that in mind. It's not exercise. It's not stimulation, because oftentimes, especially puppies, can get overstimulated. So it's not stimulation, it's enrichment. And that's the key. And that's what we're going to talk about next. So first and foremost, meal time is training time. Again, we talked about if you feed them in a bowl, it takes them 10 seconds to eat, and then they're bored again. Okay. So no more free lunch. They have to work for it. So the other reason I like to do this is because all of this stuff is super easy to do, but it's super easy not to do. Okay. Life happens and you're like, yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. But you got to feed your dog and you have to feed him every day. Most of us do it twice a day. So that's two built-in training times where you're definitely going to do some of this stuff. And again, a little bit is better than none of it. The power of something. 5 push-ups are better than 0 push-ups, right? The power of something. So how are we going to do this? Make them work for their meals. Instead of food in a bowl where there's no learning going on, you're going to put their food in treat dispensing toys. Yes, make the toy do the work. Work smart, not hard. I'm the laziest trainer you'll ever meet. And the older I get, the lazier I get. It's like, just let the toy do it. I don't want to sit and be doling out treats. Make the toy do it. And then when I want to dole out treats, I'm going to use their meal. So when we're doing training, instead of using a bunch of fatty treats or even good healthy treats, too much of a good thing can add pounds. And especially for adult dogs, we don't want to add in any pounds. Even a little bit overweight is bad for your dog. And we want to keep them not just alive, but we want to keep them healthy as long as we possibly can, right? So use the meal as a treat in training. And when you don't have time for that, or you're done with your training, put the rest in a treat dispensing toy. And again, putting this on autopilot. Make them work for it. No trust fund puppies. It's about building our habits as much as building your dog's habits. That's really what it is. My whole method to my madness, it's not about changing your dog's behavior, it's about changing your behavior. I'm whispering like you can't hear me, but you should hear me. It's changing your behavior, because the more consistent you are, the more consistent your dog is going to be. That's all there is to it. And your dog is doing whatever you teach them to do. And you can be like, well, I didn't teach them to do that. Well, you kind of were, whether you did it intentionally or unintentionally. Just by ignoring them, that's teaching them to ignore you or to figure out on their own how to occupy themselves. So now the other big thing that we need to talk about is play. Dogs need to play. They are hardwired for it. They're natural scavengers. They want to forage for food, and through selective breeding, what we have done with wolves is we have basically created juvenile wolves, are what dogs are. They have retained those juvenile play instincts that young wolves do. We've also retained the early mating status, because then we could make more, do more selective breeding. If they were sexually mature earlier, then we could breed them earlier. So wolves aren't sexually mature till like 2 or 3. They're not going to breed until like 2 or 3. Most breeds, dog breeds, are 6 months and they're sexually mature. Some 5 months, some 7, 8 months. There is some variation, but it's a lot younger than wolves. So we have basically retained those juvenile instincts. So let's talk about neoteny, and that's what neoteny is. Neoteny is your 10-point word for the day. My poor husband, he's always like, just tell me what it is. Why do you use these words? But I want you to know. I not just want you to know how things work. I want you to know why things work. Don't take just my opinion or some other rando trainer on YouTube or whatever. I want you to know the science behind it, why I do the things that I do, not just how to do it, but why. And neoteny is a term. It's the retention of juvenile traits into adulthood. This can be physical, this can be behavioral. Like we mentioned, for dogs, it's actually both. Humans are neotness. We retain play throughout life. As we age, the play looks different, but we still like to play. You know, babies will play with blocks or whatever toddlers are into. And as we get older, video games, and even the video games change. When little kids first play, it's, Hello Kitty Adventure Island, whatever, and then they get into Halo when they get older. And then even, seniors like to do Sudoku and crossword puzzles and stuff. And I hate to use the word senior anymore because I am quickly approaching that status. And I think we need to come up with another word like vintage or classic. I don't like the word senior. As I get there, the less and less I like it. Okay. So there's two different types of play. There's your interactive play and there's your solo play. Very important to know the difference and when to use the difference. So let's talk about the different toys. For your interactive play, those plushies, those fuzzy, squeaky toys and so forth, those are interactive toys. Those are not chew toys. They are not meant to be left with your dog to rip apart. I hear this all the time. Well, I get him all the toys and then he just rips them apart. Like this. I've got, oh my gosh. It's like, you probably can't see, but these are the stuffy ones, right? And they have a squeaker in them. And dogs love them because they squeak, they sound like prey, and then they rip them apart. That's what they do. So these toys were actually meant to be play toys, like you throw it for fetch or tug toys. They're not meant for your dog just to sit and chew on, unless you have a very passive doodle like I have, where he just likes to cuddle them and hold them and carry them around in his mouth. That's different. But if your dog is ripping them apart, they are not a solo play toy. They are an interactive play. Other interactive play, your rope toys, same thing. A lot of dogs, if you let them chew it, they'll just pull the rope out and then just the rope. And then we have to like pull it out of them and it's not fun. Okay. Water retrieval dummies, those same things, they'll rip them apart. Those are meant as fetch, retrieval, or tug toys. Solo toys, your Nyla bones, your Kongs. I love the Kong because it can be used as both. Once you're done playing fetch, then they can sit and chew on it. So it can be used as both. The Nyla bone, it's made of a very hard plastic, and they can just sit and chew on it. And there's a bunch of different solo ones on the market. Anything that you can put food in it, and then they kind of bat it around and play with it on their own. Those are all solo toys. The interactive play, things that you do with your dog. You and your dog are playing together. Those are tricks, play training, agility, parkour, fetch, tug, all those things that we talk about. Anything that you are and your dog are doing together, that is interactive play. So many different games that you can play. The hide and seek, monkey in the middle, the check-in game we play in class all the time, fastest sit. You know I love my doggy push-ups. Recall races, all of that interactive, where you are playing with your dog, you're laughing, you're having fun, but there's learning going on. Again, they're learning to listen to you, they're learning to come, they're learning to sit quickly or down or whatever it is that you're working on. But the games, it's you and your dog playing together and learning together. So this is our little Thomas, and most of you will recognize him, Tommy. I always have to call them by their big long name. I don't know why. But this is the Find It game. And so they stuffed a Kong for him and hid it. So this is also like an Easter egg hunt for your dog. I do this with Easter as well. Stuff the Kong and then they have to find it. See, he's done this before. So he's sniffing around. He's using that scenting skill, all of that, and then he walked right past it. Oh, he'll find it. But he's looking for it. So this looking, he's using all of his senses, his sight, his sound, his nose, and there it is right there. Right there. He'll find it. But it's making him work. It's his brain working. And this is the fastest dog in class. Most of you have been to my classes. You've seen this. It's basically a relay race. Call your dog. So what are they learning? To come to you, to bypass that other dog, bypass all the stimulus, and come to the owner. So if this was a busy street or a dog park, or God only knows what the emergency situation is, dog is going to come to you. That's what we want. Plus, we're laughing. The dogs are having fun. They want to do it. They're not doing it to avoid punishment. They're doing it to seek pleasure. And it's that whole, philosophical life path that we choose. Are we avoiding punishment? Are we seeking pleasure? I prefer to go towards the positive, and research has showed that it is much more effective as well. Okay, skateboarding, I had to throw this in. This is so much fun. Yes, that's our Miss Finn. My son Harrison, he's luring her up there, which is getting her used to the skateboard to start with. And yeah, you have to listen to some good skateboard music while he does this. So he sits up there. Perfect. So we do it in phases, making it fun, rolling it a little bit. Perfect. But she's thinking this whole thing, it's thinking, it's bonding, lots of stuff going on here. Here's another angle. And then step number 3 is, of course, your human just carries you, which the socialization going on for Finney right now and confidence building. Good. So lots of stuff you can do with a skateboard. I'm from Orange County, Southern California. I got to put in something about the skateboards, right? Here's some more skateboarding. This is our Miss Mel doing it. Again, timbre, I like to show the different breeds doing it, the different dogs doing it. So you see the difference. There is no one size fits all. Your dog is going to do it different. Even if it was the same breed, the same litter, they're going to do it differently. And not only is that not okay, that's what we want. That is life. I love diversity and different things. If everybody was the same, how boring would that be? And more skateboarding. Now, this one I threw in here because it's such great socialization for the other dogs. We do the yin and the yang exercise all the time, right? Where you're in motion, but you're also settling. And I love that exercise where the skateboard is going past all the dogs sitting there. So they're learning not to react to the skateboards. Lots of learning going on there. And again, more OC stuff I have to throw in here. Nothing like a dog day at the beach. It's so much fun. This was Huntington. Yeah. So Sunday, what a beautiful day, huh? Just gorgeous. And then I threw in here some OG pictures of my kids. Yeah, those are my little puppies. Aren't they adorable? And that's my Malinois Cooper and my first standard Zoe. That's our day at the beach. Gosh, I don't even know how old the kids were there. They must have been like, I don't know, like 6 and 8 or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, fun. I love those days. I miss them. Pool play. This is Izzy and her pool. So if you can't get to the beach, you don't have a built-in pool, or maybe your dog is a little afraid of the big real pool, you get a plastic kiddie pool and have some fun. Put some toys in there. You could throw ice cubes in there, let them splash around. Again, it's physical, yes, but so much mental. So much mental. And here's more water play. You guys remember this? After urban class, all the different dogs, and I love this. See how everybody's doing it differently? All the different breeds interacting with the fountain differently. And that's a beautiful thing. Oh, doggy push-ups. I had to throw in some doggy push-ups. This is little Pepper when she was just a wee little thing. So doggy push-up, sit down, back into a sit. She would have done this all day for one treat. And yeah, so you just take one treat and you see how many you can get. Oh God, she's so cute. How many you can get them to do for that one treat. To start with, it may be 2 or 3, and then it's 30, depending on the breed, depending on your dog's age, their physicality, if they have any physical issues. Little Aussie puppy like this, oh my gosh, Pepper would have done 1,000 probably. And this is some retail therapy. This is Miss Finn shopping, because if you can't shop with your dog, what's the point? He's just scooting around. Talk about enrichment. I mean, walking, I think this was Home Goods where they were. Just walking through the store, so much sights and smells and sounds. It's great desensitization. It's great socialization, because, of course, every other person had to stop and say hello to her. She loved it. She was in heaven. And here's Rudy doing some shopping with Gary. Gary and Rudy are my models. But look at the look on Rudy's face. He's like, yeah, come check me out. He was having a great time. And he's done this so much that he just learned to sit and chill while, Gary shopped. Hide and seek. Hide and seek is a great game. We play this in class a lot. Definitely play this around your house. I usually hide and seek is you hiding, not your dog. Reggie likes to hide and then have me find him. He's not very good at hiding if you can find him. But most of the time you hide and then call your dog and then they have to find you. This is how they teach search and rescue dogs. They make a game out of it. And it's fun. So when they find you, you play with them, you make a big whoop-de-doo about it. If you've hidden too well and they can't find you, then you call them louder or you come out a little bit, make it a little bit easier for them to find you. We want them to be successful. But hide and seek, it's a lot of fun. And again, most of the time you're hiding from your dog. But if your dog likes to hide, we don't judge. Whatever makes them happy, whatever works. And then agility, you guys know about agility. I use Melody because I love showing that these little foo-foo dogs can do it. It's not just about your border collie. Little Havanese can do it as well, sometimes better than, a Sheltie or another dog that you would think of for agility. And of course, mine is just for fun because it's just about the laughs, and yeah, there's learning and play going on. If we get too serious about anything, it dilutes it, and it doesn't make it fun for them. It doesn't make it fun for us. And if it's not fun, who wants to do it, right? So agility, it's a hoot. And again, all breeds, all ages, all sizes can do this. We just modify it depending on, I love with the backpack on, right? Doesn't that make it just that extra little mwah? But everybody can do it. We just modify it for the size and any physical issues. So older dogs, we would lower things. They wouldn't jump. Sometimes, well, you guys know we have them go under things. There's lots of modifications. The modifications are endless, just like with yoga. So our beloved Lago, you have to say it with an accent, Lago is demonstrating the modifications. So we took the legs off. He's just stepping on this. He's had some leg issues. He broke both of his front legs, and so we have to be super careful. Besides, he's got those delicate long racehorse legs, right? But modifications for everybody. And when I say everyone, I mean everyone. So, are you ready for this? This is the funniest thing you will see. This is Basset Hound agility. Yeah, that's right. So, look at this is Miss Minnie. Oh my God, look at her. This is me doing agility, by the way. And she was young too. She was like, she wasn't a year yet. I think she was like 7 or 8 months, maybe. Oh, she can barely get that back leg up. The stubby little legs. I know. Look at her. So fantastic. Okay. And of course, somebody's calling me. It'll go. The hurdles. I like showing again the little. Had to check out what I was doing. I like showing the little dogs because people don't think about that as much as like your labs and your goldens doing it or your shelties and all of that. No, everybody can do this. They just do it in their own way and literally at their own speed. And of course, I had to throw in, I think this is Piper doing the army crawl since she is like the army crawl queen going under. So instead of going over, you can go under things. Beautiful, fantastic. So much learning going on and so much enrichment. So much enrichment. Okay, one last little tunnel here. I think, no, that was Goose. Oops, just that. Okay, here's another tunnel. I knew there was another tunnel in here. And again, the way they do the tunnel differently. And I like how the bigger dogs, even with the smaller tunnel, they kind of crunch down a little bit. It's all good as long as we're being safe and sane. So fun with boxes. You don't have to have a lot of fancy schmancy agility equipment. Not that mine is fancy nor schmancy. Some of it is real agility equipment. Most of it isn't. And even boxes, saving your Amazon boxes, you can teach them on, in, out. And this is Melody had to balance on that little beer case. So that was that little beer case box, I guess you call it. So that was really hard. Really good stuff that you can do with literally your recycling. You can be training and teaching your dog. So this is Tommy putting it all together at home. They have their own agility course set up, and I like he does a little hop in there just to give you some ideas what you can do at your house. It doesn't take a whole lot, you know, just a few pieces back and forth a few times. Such great enrichment. Exercise. Oh, unconventional agility. So Reggie wanted to do it because Finney was doing it, but he was too big for the box. So I had to humor him, and often he could just stick his two front legs in there or he walked over it. So, modify it however, but have fun. And then parkour. I want to talk about parkour a bit. It's your urban agility. It's urban canine going out in public meets agility class. So even just taking a walk for your dog, you can bump it up a notch and make it more like an expedition, an exploration, more enrichment than just walking around the block. Going for a sniff walk is great, but we can always take it to that next level. And you can find anything around your environment. Here are the steps, balancing, going up, going off. Those are all different commands. And just using your environment. What do they say in martial arts? Use your environment, right? You take a walk to that next level. Oh, and Gary likes to do this when we're in an outside bar. He has Rudy order. Again, tweak it to what works for you. Oh, and I did want to throw in an actual Malinois doing this stuff. So this is the balance in the walk with an actual Malinois. And see the intensity? Males are just amazing dogs. Look at her focus, absolute focus. And then here is this is little Sadie. What is Sadie? I think Sadie's a poodle Maltese. Is she a Maltipoo? Not sure. She was a shelter dog. But here she's doing the same thing that the Mal was. Do, 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 do. So regardless of the breed, regardless of the age, can still get the same benefits. And this is, I think it's like the first time she's done this. She caught on so quickly. Beautiful. And you can see how it's good physical exercise to work on that balance as well. So it helps keep your dog in shape and helps keep them conditioned. And of course, the group class, you guys know the parkour class. Again, I love seeing all the different breeds doing this. And this is just a planter box. And we had everybody walk around it. And I apologize for some of the video being cut off. I had to take it from my Instagram because, and I can barely talk about this, I'm still trauma. Was it 2 years ago? My phone died, just like died. I was on it and it just like became a brick and took it to so many places they could not get it going again. So I lost so much photos, video. But luckily I uploaded some of this stuff to my Instagram. So anyway, that's why I'm using Instagram because my phone died. Oh, so traumatic, so traumatic. It's like my best friend. I just lost my best friend. Just suddenly up and just wouldn't work anymore. So here's two paws up. And yes, he's got green hair. That is what happens at my house when you mix St. Patrick's Day with Jameson's. Everybody ends up with green hair. Just fair warning if you come to my house. But two paws up, you can do it vertically like that. You can do it horizontally. Here's the two paws up, the whole class. And as you know, I like to call this one, it's the cops. And then everybody runs to be frisked. But look how cute they all are. And look how different they all are, all the different breeds. And I think that's Phoebe in the corner watching. She's like, I'm not feeling it. She's the cops over here. So that was all interactive play. Let's talk about some solo play because sometimes, as much as you want to, you just don't have time to play with your dog or work with your dog. Life happens. I get it, right? So that's where the treat dispensing toys come in. Stuff those Kongs, man. Stuff those Kongs. And I get no kickback from Kong. I just really believe in the company. I really believe in the product. It is so easy to clean. And if you haven't seen my videos on that, you can go to my videos. I've got a million. I'll be doing more, I'm sure. So if there's something in particular you want me to expand upon, please let me know. I'm more than happy to talk and even happier to talk about dogs and even happier to talk about things that will help dogs. So Kongs, stuff them, put their meals. Their meal is the base. 90% of it is their meal, and then you can zhuzh it up with whatever is dog food safe. I use pumpkin puree, Greek yogurt, the plain stuff, no sugar. What else do I put in there? I'll smush a banana, anything that I have left over, blueberries, sometimes smush it together. Or you can even just, if you're feeding dry food, you can just add a little water or low sodium chicken broth and it gets kind of plumps up and mushy and then you mush it in there. So it's harder for them to get out. Just experiment. There's a million ways to stuff a Kong. And all sorts of different toys on the market. It doesn't necessarily have to be the Kong. There's different rubber toys out there. There's different ones that are plastic and they manipulate them. And just see what your dog likes, basically. And the chew bones, I like I said, the nylabones. Be careful of really hard things like the antlers, the natural sterilized bones. And then also be careful of things that haven't been pasteurized. Animal products like your pig's ears, your cow hooves, they can carry salmonella and other things on them. So please be careful of that. Not necessarily your dog getting sick, but the cross contamination for the humans, especially if you have kids in the family or somebody with a depressed immune system is susceptible to those cross contaminations. And then the find it game, like I said, or like you saw with Tommy, you could take the Kongs and put it out. So it's like a game within a game. They have to find it and then they get it and they can enjoy it. You can hide it around your yard. You can hide it around your house. If you want to do like a digging pit, which is a plastic kiddie pool, fill it with sand or dirt, and then put the toys in there. So they actually find it. They have to dig it up and then they find it. And it's not encouraging them to dig because they're going to dig anyway, especially if you have a terrier. We're just teaching them where they can dig. So you can do in like a plastic kiddie pool, or you could even do like a section of your yard, just like one little section, like put rocks around it or something to differentiate it. And that could be your digging pit. So it's like a toy within a toy. And here's our Miss Mel. She sent me this. This is another interactive toy she sped up because she said this took Melody forever. So it's just a muffin pan. She put treats and then toys and balls in the pan. And this is basically making your own puzzle. And I'm very low tech. I let's use what you got around the house rather than spending a whole bunch of money on something. And you will see the puzzles that you buy, the snuffle mats. Those are great, but they are not chew toys. So once your dog gets all the food out of it, you pick it up and you put it away. Because oftentimes, especially those puzzles, the dogs will get the food out and then they'll sit and they'll chew on the plastic, ingest pieces of the plastic. Not meant to be a chew toy. Same thing with the snuffle mats. The snuffle mats, and if you guys know what those are, it's like a rug and then you put stuff in there, which is great. It's working on your dog scavenging and finding their food, but sometimes they will pick off pieces of the fabric and get that ingested and cause an obstruction. So those are toys that you want to watch your dog with. The same thing with like the lick mats. Those are great when you're there watching the dog. And basically anything that you give your dog new, watch how they're going to interact with it. Because those lick mats, I've had so many people tell me they put the food in there and then they'll even freeze it and stuff. And instead of the dog licking it, they'll just take bites out of it. So yeah, watch your dog. They don't read the instructions how they're supposed to use it. They are just going to figure out in their brain how they want to use it. So supervise anything new. And here's our Tommy. Those of you that haven't seen a dog work in the Kong before, the kibble was in there loose, and he's just learning to bat it. Some kibble comes out, and then he eats it, and then he's going to bat it again. So it's a way to keep him occupied. You can do this when you're gone, when you're home, whenever you need your dog to be occupied, basically. I always say if they're working a Kong, they're not working your last nerve. So that's to remember that. And they had these inserts that you put in the Kong. That's what Rudy's chewing on. I guess they've discontinued those, so they're not making them anymore, or they're revamping the design. What you can do, or what I used to do before Kong came out with these, is I would take a nylabone and I would put a treat at the bottom of the Kong and then stuff the nylabone in there. So again, it's like two toys in one. But that way he can just sit and chew on this. And Reggie needed a little external validation. He was feeling left out. So This is a good example of chewing on the Kong as well as the Nylabone, just a toy that they can sit and chew on. Yeah, you think my dogs have enough toys? They need a 12-step program. Talk about a 12-step program. This dog, he's a hoarder, but this is an example, solo play. This is Reggie. He just likes to cuddle with these and have them in his mouth. They're literally his little security blanket. It's psychology, it's a transitional comfort object. But he just likes to lay and cuddle with them and carry them around. And that's why there's like a stash of toys wherever Reggie goes. And he will always meet you at the door with a toy in his mouth because he gets so excited. Okay, so some cautions about the chew toys. And I've mentioned these before, but it bears repeating. Not all toys are chew toys. The stuffed toys, the lick mats, the snuffle mats, the puzzle games. And on YouTube, you'll see people like, oh, we'll just wrap it in a towel, put some treats in a box, etc., which is great, but don't leave your dog unattended with that because they'll get the treats out and then they will ingest the towel. They will rip apart the box and ingest pieces of that. So you always want to supervise your dog, especially when you are giving them something new. See how they are going to interact with it. And don't assume that they're going to interact with it the way that you had anticipated or that the 10 other dogs before interacted with them. Remember, toddlers, we never know what's going on in that brain, right? So remember, dogs need exercise. They need enrichment. It is not optional. And depending on your dog's breed, their age, their individual activity level, how much they actually need. And the easiest way to give them this is through their own natural instincts. So the scavenging, make him learn to earn. Nothing is free. Mealtime is training time. The scavenging, the chasing, the capturing, all of that is their natural instinct. Besides neoteny, you know that word now, okay? So don't give me that look when I use it. Neoteny, they need to play. And they've done so much research lately. It's fascinating to me that a dog's brain lights up more during play than actually eating. So play is more enriching and rewarding to your dog than food. Isn't that fascinating? So keep that in mind. And then you've got your interactive versus your solo play. Very important to know those two distinctions. And here's a list of different things that you can do. The games, the obedience work, that's great. The tricks, all the different dog sports, the rally, the parkour, the agility, scent work, and then even just a sniff walk, taking them for a quick little walk and letting them sniff and explore. If you can, incorporate some parkour into your walks. Just takes it to that next level. So I wanted to mention a couple of quotes here from Einstein. Someone a hell of a lot smarter than me, so trust him. And I love this one, these quotes, especially this one, that a clever person solves a problem, a wise person avoids it. So instead of like, how do I fix this? How do I fix this? How do I stop my dog from doing that? How do I stop my dog from doing that? Well, let's never have the problem to begin with. Instead of going through this laundry list of, okay, how do I stop the trash digging? How do I stop the barking? How do I stop the chewing? Well, it all stems from boredom. So let's not even have those problems. Let's just get rid of the boredom. And then you naturally get rid of all those problems and we don't have to address it. And he also said you cannot solve a problem with the same mind that created it, which I think is so important to change our perspective. And why give yourself kudos and give yourself grace for listening to me for, I don't know how long I've rambled on now, somebody else's point of view. and a different perspective. Because oftentimes we keep trying to solve the problem when, it was that same mentality that created the problem. So, one of the best ways to, and this is true for anything, whether it's dog training or anything else in life, is just take a step back and go, okay, what's the reward? What's really happening here? And how can I attack it from a different angle or try something different? So often we keep trying to get the same thing to work, but it just doesn't. I had one client while ago, and I was telling her how to handle this situation, I suggest you do blah, 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 blah. And she said, well, can I keep doing this? And I said, well, yeah, you can absolutely keep doing that, but you're going to keep getting the same results. Your dog is going to keep doing the behavior that you don't like. If you keep doing the same thing, so is your dog. And the definition of insanity is attributed to Einstein. However, there's no evidence that he actually said that, much like, Marie Antoinette never said, let them eat cake, although it was very much implied. But the definition of insanity definitely is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. So, if nothing else, look at it from a different perspective, a different angle, and try something else. So, be proactive, not reactive. We want to prevent the problems, not keep solving them over and over again. And your goal, I love this little Roddy puppy in the corner here with his tongue sticking out. Oh my God, I love that. This is your goal. A tired dog is a happy owner. A dog that is passed out on the couch, like my beloved freeloader Rudy up there, is not digging in your trash. They are not barking at your neighbors. They are not chewing your shoes. I mean, fill in the blank. So be proactive, not reactive. And I can guarantee you, there's not a whole lot of things that I can guarantee in life, but I can guarantee you, especially with these little puppies on the bottom row, if we didn't exercise them, they would have these bursts of energy and get into mischief, to be sure. Yeah. And then don't forget to treat yourself, whatever your treat looks like. I love Finny with a little martini there. I think that's just appropriate. And I think a poodle should have a martini. A poodle teeny? I'm going to invent that. But treat yourself, whether it's a martini or, ice cream or just a nice walk around the park, whatever. Treat yourself, because there's a million other things you could have done with your time, but you sat here and learned something to help your dog. So make sure you treat and reward yourself. And by the way, pup crawl, I didn't include that, but the pup crawl and visiting breweries, that's definitely great enrichment. And I think one of the funnest classes that we've ever done. And then lastly, most importantly, it's not a phase. Okay. This is a lifestyle. It's not a crash diet that you're going on. And then, once you lose 50 pounds, you're going to start eating cheesecake every day. Doesn't work that way. I have done all the research, both with food and dogs. This is a lifestyle. This is for life. And that's, again, why I think it's so darn important to do something that you have fun with your dog, whether it's the parkour, the agility, or just playing some silly games and tricks and hide and seek around the house, making them work for their meals, incorporating the Kongs into your daily routine. Whatever it is not a phase. Much like my music choices are not a phase. It's a whole nother topic. I know I'm perpetually a juvenile, but that's okay. I'm neotness. At least I know I'm self-aware, right? So it's not a phase. Get in the habit and remember brain work. Brain work so your dog isn't a jerk. Now, go and play with your dog, right? Okay. Yay, I'm back. Technology. So I hope that was interesting. I hope you learned a thing or two. And if you have questions, obviously reach out and incorporate all of this and go play with your dog. Till next time, take care.